أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Lesson number 303, Surah An-Naziat, ayah number 1 to 46. Surah An-Naziat is a Makki surah, and according to Ibn Abbas radhiyallahu anhu, this surah was revealed after Surah An-Naba, and others say it was revealed after Surah Al-Ma'arij. The surah has 2 ruku'at, 46 verses, almost 200 words, and approximately 750 huruf. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. وَالنَّازِعَاتِ غَرْقًا, by those who extract with violence. وَالنَّاشِطَاتِ نَشْطًا, and by those who remove with ease. وَالسَّابِحَاتِ سَبْحًا, and by those who glide as if swimming. فَالسَّابِقَاتِ سَبْقًا, and those who race each other in a race. فَالْمُدَبِّرَاتِ أَمْرًا, and those who arrange each matter. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is swearing an oath over here. And who is this referring to? The angels. First of all, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَالنَّازِعَاتِ غَرْقًا, by those who extract with violence. Nazi'at is a plural of nazi'ah. And nazi'ah is one who pulls something to itself. Nazir is one who is pulling something to himself, one who is yanking out something with full force and pulling it towards himself. And what's the objective of pulling something towards yourself? So that you can have it. And naz'a is to pull something and then take it away. From the same root is the word tanazur, and tanazur is dispute. Why? Because in a dispute, in an argument, both the parties are trying to pull victory to themselves. So وَالنَّازِعَاتِ, it gives the meaning of violence. وَالنَّازِعَاتِ, by those who extract, those who pull out. How do they pull out? غَرْقًا, with violence. غَرْقًا from the root letters غَيْن را قاف, and غَرْق is to drown, to sink, to immerse into something. So it is as though they dive into what they have to extract. They dive into it, they plunge into it, and from there they extract what they have to extract with full force from the depths, so that they don't leave anything of it behind. What is this referring to? This is referring to the angels who extract the souls of people. How? Violently, from the depths, so that not even a little bit of life is left in the body. Life, the soul, the ruh is fully taken out of the body. And notice the word gharqa, as if they dive into the body, they immerse into the body, and just like a diver goes deep into the waters, and from there he extracts what he has to extract, so that nothing of it is left. This is how they violently and completely and fully take the ruh out. We see that the process of the extraction of the soul from the body at the time of death is a very, very painful experience for the human being. Why? Because when the soul is being pulled out, when the soul is being extracted from the body, it is extracted from every part of the body. It is being pulled out from every single inch, every single millimeter. Your skin, to your hair, to your bones, deep down your flesh, and your muscles, every part of your body. So imagine if the soul is being pulled out from every inch, how much is the pain? And how closely connected are the soul and the body, that they are together and they're one. So the angels, when they take the soul out, how do they do it? وَالنَّازِعَاتِ غَرْقًا. This is very similar to how, if even a single hair is pulled out of your body, does it cause pain? Yes, it causes a lot of pain. A single hair being pulled out of your body, from the root, it causes a lot of pain. And just imagine from the entire body, the soul is being pulled out. It's an extremely, extremely painful procedure. And we see that the angels leave no part of life behind, no part of the soul behind in the body. Rather, they take it out fully. In Surah Al-An'am, ayah 61, we learn, وَيُرْسِلُ عَلَيْكُمْ حَفَظَةً حَتَّى إِذَا جَاءَ أَحَدَكُمُ الْمَوْتُ تَوَفَّتْهُ رُسُلُنَا وَهُمْ لَا يُفَرِّطُونَ. That Allah sends His angels, the messengers, angels, and they take the soul at the time of death, and when they're taking the soul, they do not fail in their duty. لَا يُفَرِّطُونَ, meaning they do not fall short, they do not leave any part of the soul behind in the body. وَالنَّازِعَاتِ غَرْقًا. Now the details and the realities of how exactly the soul is being pulled out, this is of the mutashabihat. This is something that only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows. Meaning we cannot fully know about it. There is no machine in this dunya, there is no instrument in this dunya that can tell us as to how the soul is being extracted, from which part it is being taken out. A person's heartbeat, a person's brain, all of that you can find out what's going on by attaching several instruments to a person's body. However, when it comes to the soul leaving the body, its details we cannot know. However, we believe that the angels, they extract it from the body. And how do they extract it? From the entire body. وَالنَّاشِطَاتِ نَشْطًا. And by those who remove with ease. An-Nashitat, plural of nashita. From the root letters Nun, Shin, Ta. And nasht is to draw out something, to extract something. How? Gently and mildly. Nashata is to unravel something that is tied up, to undo a knot. And how exactly to untie or to undo a knot? With ease, meaning without much effort. It's very, very simple. Similarly, wild animals or wild cows, they are called nawashit. Why are they called nawashit? Because they can easily, gently go from one place to the other. Whereas the animals, if they're tied up, then it makes it difficult for them to go from one place to the other. Nashatat dalw. What is a dalw? A bucket, a water bucket that is thrown into the well. So nashatat dalw is to easily extract the water container out of the well. Meaning it doesn't get stuck anywhere. It's not too heavy. But you can just easily lift it out. You can easily pull it out of the well. So nashatat, what meaning does it give? To pull out something, to extract something. How? Gently, easily, without any difficulty. So an-nashitat, meaning by those angels who extract the souls or who remove. How do they remove? Nashta, with ease. With ease, gently, smoothly, quietly. And this happens sometimes, that a person is sitting and all of a sudden, they're dead. All of a sudden, their soul has been taken out. Who are around that person, they don't even realize and that person has passed away. They don't even realize and that person is gone. Their soul is gone. Why? Because the angels came and very gently, very quickly, very easily, they extracted the soul out. وَالنَّاشِطَاتِ نَشْطًا. That other people don't even realize. وَالسَّابِحَاتِ سَبْحًا. And by those who glide as if swimming. As-sabihat, plural of sabiha. From the root letters, sin, baha. Sabh. What does that mean? To swim or to fly. To go through water or to go through air very quickly. And from this, the word sabh is also used for doing something, performing some task quickly, properly. This is why the word sabh is also used for work. إِنَّ لَكَ فِي النَّهَارِ سَبْحًا طَوِيلًا. And sabiha is that which goes quickly through air or water. So one who flies or swims, how? Quickly, rapidly, swiftly. So as-sabihati sabha, what does it mean? By those angels that swim, that fly across the waters, across the air. Why? In order to do whatever they have been commanded. For the angels, water is not a barrier. Air is not a barrier. They are not obstructed by anything. A wall is not a barrier. No. The clouds, wind, water, nothing is a barrier. So if they have to take the soul of a person who is drowning in the middle of the sea, and they have to go through the water, it's not difficult for them. Similarly, if a person, his soul is to be taken out mid-air, again, it's not difficult for them. The exact location where the person is to die, whether on land or on sea, in waters or in mid-air. As-sabihati sabha, the angels, they glide quickly over there, very easily, very smoothly, and they can extract the soul from there. Was-sabihati sabha. And as-sabihati sabha, this is understood in another way as well, that the angels who quickly obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who quickly execute the commands that they have been given. A horse that runs very fast is called sabih. A horse that runs very fast is called sabih. So, just as a horse that is running very, very fast, similarly the angels, when Allah commands them to do something, what do? What do? They fly towards it. They swim towards it. They go quickly in order to accomplish it. Just like a fish, like for example a dolphin or a whale is swimming through the water, gliding through the water at full speed. Nothing is a barrier for it. Similarly, a bird is flying through air. Similarly, the angels, when Allah gives them a command, they run. They run in order to obey. They run in order to execute the commands. وَالسَّابِحَاتِ سَبْحًا فَالسَّابِقَاتِ سَبْقًا. And those who race with each other in a race. فَالسَّابِقَاتِ سَبْقًا. Sabiqat, plural of sabiqah. And who is sabiqah? One who sabaqa, meaning one who gets ahead of the other in a race. So one who is racing, running, and gets ahead of the other, outstrips the other in that race. So the angels, Allah swears by them, describing them as فَالسَّابِقَاتِ سَبْقًا. Why is it that they race? What does it show? That the angels who race forward in obedience to the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Angels who do not delay, who do not procrastinate, who do not refuse, no, they promptly obey. When Allah gives them a command, they don't remain sitting. They don't remain standing. They don't remain stubborn in their places. No, as soon as a command is given, فَالسَّابِقَاتِ سَبْقًا. They run. They try to outdo one another. They race ahead of each other. Why? In order to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is why we see that the angels are more obedient to Allah than even the children of Adam. Because the children of Adam, human beings, what happens when Allah gives us a command? We take our time. We delay, we procrastinate, sometimes we completely ignore as if nothing has been said. But the angels, as soon as a command is given, what's their reaction? فَالسَّابِقَاتِ سَبْقًا. This is why Allah says, وَيَفْعَلُونَ مَا يُؤْمَرُونَ وَمَنْ عِنْدَهُ لَا يَسْتَكْبِرُونَ عَنْ عِبَادَتِهِ. They're not arrogant to worship Him. No, they're humble. وَلَا يَسْتَحْسِرُونَ. Nor do they ever get tired and bored. They never say, oh, we've been obeying for so long. No. فَالسَّابِقَاتِ سَبْقًا فَالْمُدَبِّرَاتِ أَمْرًا. And those who arrange each matter. Mudabbirat, plural of mudabbirah. And who is mudabbirah? One who does tadbir. And what is tadbir? Thorough planning of something. To plan a matter thoroughly, from the beginning to the end. This is how this has to be executed. This is when it has to be done. This is how it has to be done. This is where it has to be done. And these are the steps, so on and so forth. It's thorough planning, complete planning. And not just planning that a person plans everything and then just sits after the planning. No. It's planning followed by execution as well. That a person makes a plan and then he also does what he plans. This is what tadbir is. And tadbir in particular is to make a plan of a matter while keeping the end in mind. That this is what you want to accomplish. And because this is what you want to accomplish, therefore you have to do this by this time, and this by this time. This is what tadbir is. So the angels, فَالْمُدَبِّرَاتِ أَمْرًا. Those that arrange each matter. What does it mean by this? the angels that direct the affairs of this world, it doesn't mean that they decide everything on their own. No. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made them responsible for certain tasks. So when Allah has made them responsible, then what do? They fulfill their responsibilities. For example, Angel Jibreel. He has been made responsible with what? Wahi. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He would give the wahi to Angel Jibreel and he would bring it to who? Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Similarly, we see that the angel Israfil is made responsible with the blowing of the trumpet. Similarly, the angel Mikael is made responsible with the rizq, rain. So when is it to rain? At what time? At which place? How much? All of this tadbir, the angels do it according to the commands that they have been given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Similarly, the Malakul Maut, the angel of death, he has been made responsible to take the souls of all people, the entire mankind, at the time when they are to die. So at which place a person's soul is to be taken, how, in which way, at what time, all of this is what? The tadbir. So فَالْمُدَبِّرَاتِ أَمْرًا, the angels who execute each matter. Amra, every matter that they have been commanded with. Meaning they don't ignore, they don't leave out anything. Rather they fully and completely execute whatever they have been commanded. And then فَالْمُدَبِّرَاتِ أَمْرًا, this is also specifically with regards to taking the souls of people. Amra, specifically with regards to the ruh that has to be extracted. So the ruh that has to be extracted, at which time, how, which angels have to do it. All of this is also done with tadbir, and the angels do it properly. Remember the story of the man who had killed 100 people? And then the angels of mercy came and the angels of punishment came. And then both came to take the soul, and then there was a dispute. So what happened? Tadbir was done. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He told the angels as to how they should measure the land, and according to the measurement, which angel should take the soul of the person. So all of this is what? Tadbir. So فَالْمُدَبِّرَاتِ أَمْرًا, then by those angels that arrange, organize, regulate, conduct, carry out, execute every matter with regards to this dunya, with regards to people, their rizq, and also their death. فَالْمُدَبِّرَاتِ أَمْرًا. We listen to the recitation of these verses.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والنازعات غرقا والناشطات نشطا والسابحات سبحا فالسابقات سبقا فالمدبرات أمرا.
We see that in these verses, the opening verses of Surah An-Naziat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions a special role of the angels. And in fact, He swears by the angels who perform those tasks. And of those tasks is what? What is that special role? Taking the soul out of the human body at the time of death. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala swears by the angels. Why? Because they are of the best of His creation. And it also shows that what they do, this task that they perform of taking out the soul from the body, is a very, very important and serious thing. It's a very serious matter. This is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is swearing an oath by it over here. Some scholars say that in these ayat, An-Naziat, An-Nashitat, As-Sabihat, As-Sabiqat, Al-Mudabbirat, this is referring to something else. And what is that? Horses. Because horses, they're also very swift. They reach every destination, even if it's in the waters. And they race ahead of one another. They promptly obey their masters. And they execute whatever commands they are given. Because horses are very intelligent creatures and they're also very sensitive creatures. However, if you look at the context, what does it show? That it cannot refer to the horses. Why? Because the following verses, they speak about the Day of Judgment. The following verses speak about the Day of Judgment. And what takes a person to the Day of Judgment is what? His death. And what is it that causes death to a person? It's the angels who extract the person's soul at whose command? The command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, with the context in mind, it shows to us that these ayat cannot be referring to horses or something else, but rather what do they refer to? The angels that perform a very serious task, which is taking the souls of human beings out of their bodies at the time of death. And that is what leads to the Day of Judgment. And we see that after a qasam is supposed to be a jawab qasam, response to that qasam. And the jawab qasam is not mentioned over here, but it is implied. Because the following ayat speak about the Day of Judgment. Now, death is mentioned, and then afterwards, Day of Judgment is mentioned. What is between the two? Resurrection. So by swearing all of these oaths, what is the jawab of the qasam? That you shall certainly be resurrected. You shall certainly be resurrected. Resurrection will definitely take place. And in the following ayat, the details are mentioned, how the Day of Judgment will be established, what will happen at that time. Now we see that the angels extracting the souls of people at the time of death, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala swears by it over here. Why? Because this is an evidence that the Day of Judgment will take place. What is an evidence? The fact that the angels extract the souls out of human bodies. We see that different roles of the angels are mentioned over here. What does this show to us? That all that happens in this universe, everything that's going on in the universe is happening in a certain order, in a certain fashion, and the angels are the ones who have been appointed to execute all of these matters and affairs. So in other words, everything that's happening is not happening at random. It's happening how? At the hands of who? The angels. And who tells them? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells them. The souls are taken out, the souls are taken to their destinations, and one day people will be resurrected and people will be recompensed for what they have done. So this organized, this very detailed system that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put in place for the life of people, their duration in this dunya, and also their death, such an organized system, angels are appointed. What does it show? That all of this is happening for no reason? No. The angels are appointed, they perform their tasks with so much efficiency and precision, which shows that there is a meaning behind all of that. The angels take the souls out, not so that the soul is just wandering around randomly. No. The souls are taken out, they are taken to their destinations, and one day the soul will be joined with the body, and on that day, resurrection will take place. On that day, recompense will be established. So the fact that the angels take the souls out, this is an evidence of what? Yawmul Qiyamah. This is an evidence of Al-Ba'ath Ba'd al-Maut. Because otherwise, Allah would not set such a detailed system in place. Just imagine, angels are appointed. They take out the ruh, they take it to a particular place. For nothing? No. There is going to be a day when Allah will command, and these souls will be united with their bodies. And then people will be recompensed for what they have done. So, as if what is being said is that why do you deny this day? Why do you doubt the coming of this day? Allah swears by the angels, وَالنَّازِعَاتِ غَرْقًا وَالنَّاشِطَاتِ نَشْطًا. And we see that two things in particular are mentioned, that how the angels take the soul out in two ways. One is very violently, and the other is very gently. An-Naziat, very violently, and An-Nashitat, gently, smoothly. So we see that for some people, the soul is taken out in a very harsh manner. And for others, the soul is taken out in a very, very gentle manner. Whose soul is taken out in a very, very harsh manner, very violently? The soul of the disbeliever. Because when the angels come to take the soul of the disbeliever, they address him with his worst names. Why? Why? Because he is deserving of punishment. So they address him with his worst names, that أخرجي أيتها النفس الخبيثة, O nafs that is khabitha, impure soul, come out. التي كانت في جسد الخبيث, that which was in an impure body. أخرجي إلى غضب الله, come out to the punishment of Allah, to the anger of Allah. And when the angels address the person like this, the soul does not wish to leave. It does not wish to come out of the body. And when it does not wish to come out of the body, the angels, they extract it violently. It's like a tug of war. He does not wish to go, but the angels have to take him. So this is why they go into the depths of the body and they extract the soul violently, pulling it out from every part, fully. And this is mentioned elsewhere in the Quran as well. In Surah Al-An'am, ayah 93, we learn, وَلَوْ تَرَى إِذِ الظَّالِمُونَ فِي غَمَرَاتِ الْمَوْتِ وَالْمَلَائِكَةُ بَاسِطُوا أَيْدِيهِمْ أَخْرِجُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ. If you could only see when the wrongdoers are in the overwhelming pangs of death, while the angels extend their hands to them, saying, take out your souls, meaning come out. Today you will be awarded the punishment of extreme humiliation, عذاب الهون. Why? بما كنتم تقولون على الله غير الحق وكنتم عن آياته تستكبرون. Similarly in Surah Al-Anfal, ayah 50, we learn, وَلَوْ تَرَى إِذْ يَتَوَفَّى الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا الْمَلَائِكَةُ يَضْرِبُونَ وُجُوهَهُمْ وَأَدْبَارَهُمْ وَذُوقُوا عَذَابَ الْحَرِيقِ. The angels are striking their faces and their backs. And the angels say to them, taste the punishment of the burning fire. So at the time of death even, at the time when the angels come to collect the soul, they are very harsh with the person. Because they are very harsh, the soul does not wish to leave. When it doesn't wish to leave, how do they take out the soul? نَازِعَاتِ غَرْقًا. نَازِعَاتِ غَرْقًا. In the last verse of Surah An-Naba, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, إِنَّا أَنذَرْنَاكُمْ عَذَابًا قَرِيبًا. And the details of this عَذَابًا قَرِيبًا are mentioned over here. Because عَذَابًا قَرِيبًا, how is it qareeb? Through death. And this punishment can begin from the moment of death even. This punishment can begin from the moment of death even. This is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala warned us against it. Now we learn from a hadith that when the disbelieving slave is about to depart this world and enter the hereafter, there come down to him angels from heaven with black faces. Black faces. Just imagine somebody black completely, scary, horrifying, bringing with them a very harsh material, a very rough material, meaning in order to shroud him in that. And they sit with him as far as the eye can see. Then the angel of death comes to him and sits by his head and says, O evil soul, come out to the wrath and anger of Allah. Then his soul disperses in his body. When the angels address him in this way, the soul disperses in his body and is dragged out like a skewer is being pulled out of wet wool. Like a skewer is being pulled out of wet wool. Just imagine, this is how the soul is taken out. نَازِعَاتِ غَرْقًا. Then he takes the soul, and no sooner does he seize it, but they take it and place it in that very harsh material. Then out of it comes the most putrid stench of rotten flesh to be found on the face of the earth. Then they ascend with it, and they do not pass by any group of angels, but the angels ask, who is this evil soul? And they reply, it is so-and-so, the son of so-and-so, using the worst names by which he was known on earth. Then they bring it to the lowest heaven and ask for it to be opened, and it is not opened for him. Then the Prophet ﷺ recited the ayah, لا تفتح لهم الأبواب, and they will not enter paradise until حتى يلج الجمل في سم الخياط, until the camel goes through the eye of the needle, meaning it's impossible for them to enter Jannah. Then the Prophet ﷺ said, then Allah, may He be glorified and exalted, says, record the book of my slave in Sijjeen, the lowest hell, in the lowest earth. Then his soul is cast down. And then he recited the ayah that whoever assigns partners with Allah, it is as if he had fallen from the sky. فَكَأَنَّمَا خَرَّ مِنَ السَّمَاءِ فَتَخْطَفُهُ الطَّيْرُ, and the birds had snatched him, or the wind had thrown him to a far off place. And then He said then his soul is returned to his body, meaning in the grave, and 2 angels come and make him sit up. And they ask him, who is your Lord? And he says, I do not know. They ask, what is your religion? And he says, I do not know. They ask, who is this man that was sent amongst you? And he says, I do not know. Then a voice will call out from the heaven and say that he is lying. Prepare for him a bed from hell and open for him a door to hell. And he will feel its hot winds and smell its stench, and his grave will be constricted for him until his ribs interlock. And then a man with an ugly face, ugly clothes, and a horrible stench will come to him and say, bad news, this is the day that you were warned about. Inna anzarnakum adaban qariba. He will say, who are you? Your face looks as if it brings bad news. He will say, I am your deeds. I am your actions. يَوْمَ يَنْظُرُ الْمَرْءُ مَا قَدَّمَتْ يَدَاهُ. And the person will say, O Lord, do not let the hour come. Do not let the day of judgment come. On the other hand, An-Naziat nashta, the angels that take out the soul very gently. Whose soul do they take out very gently? The soul of the believer. Because when they come to take the soul of the believer, they address it with the most honorable and good terms. In the best words, they say, أَخْرِجِي يَا أَيَّتُهَا النَّفْسُ الطَّيِّبَةِ. Come out, O pure soul, O good soul, الَّتِي كَانَتْ فِي جَسَدِ الطَّيِّبِ, that which was in a pure and clean body. أَخْرِجِي إِلَى رِضْوَانِ اللَّهِ. Come out to the pleasure of Allah. So what happens? The soul then wishes to depart as well. And when it wishes to depart, then what happens? The process becomes easy. An-Naziat nashta. They extract the soul very gently, very easily. In Surah An-Nahl, ayah 32, we learn, الَّذِينَ تَتَوَفَّاهُمُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ طَيِّبِينَ يَقُولُونَ سَلَامٌ عَلَيْكُمْ أُدْخُلُوا الْجَنَّةَ بِمَا كُنْتُمْ تَعْمَلُونَ. They greet with salam. They address the believer gently. يَا أَيَّتُهَا النَّفْسُ الْمُطْمَئِنَّةِ ارْجِعِي إِلَى رَبِّكِ رَاضِيَةً مَرْضِيَّةً فَادْخُلِي فِي عِبَادِي وَادْخُلِي جَنَّتِي. Similarly, we have learned earlier that at the time of death, فَرَوْحٌ وَرَيْحَانٌ وَجَنَّةُ نَعِيمٌ. So this is why An-Naziat nashta. And this is why the Prophet ﷺ said that whoever loves to meet Allah, Allah also loves to meet him. What did Aisha radhiyallahu anha say? That we dislike the idea of death, because obviously, how do you meet Allah after death? So we dislike the idea of death. He said, it's not what you're thinking. When death approaches the believer and he is given the news of Allah's pleasure and honor, nothing will be more dear to him than what lies ahead of him. So he loves to meet Allah. And Allah also then loves to meet him. But when death approaches the disbeliever, and he is given the news of Allah's wrath and punishment, nothing will be more disliked by him than what lies ahead of him. So he hates to meet Allah, and Allah also hates to meet him. So An-Naziat gharqa, An-Naziat nashta. This is just like if a person is told, come out of your old, small, ancient house that's broken, nothing is functioning in this house, come out of this house and enter this new house. That's luxurious, that's huge, that's brand new. Who wouldn't want to come out? Anybody would. So the angels of death, when they come to the believer, they give him good news. When they give him good news, he wants to meet his Lord. And when he wants to meet his Lord, the process of taking out the soul also becomes easier. And we see that the extraction of the soul from the body, it is painful. Meaning it's not necessary that just because a person's soul is taken out very easily, he died a very easy death, he is righteous. And if a person died a difficult death, he is sinful. No. The process of death, the extraction of soul, is painful. It is difficult. However, it becomes easy on the believer. Why? Because of the way that the angels speak to him, the way that they treat him, the good news that they give him. It becomes easier on him. This is just like a person who is getting some treatment done, some surgery done. For example, a woman is giving birth, and at that time, yes, the procedure is extremely painful. But because of the doctors and the nurses and the family members who are there, their kind words and their kind treatment, their affectionate words, what do? They make the entire process manageable. And if there's one person who is harsh, then what happens? That entire process becomes even more painful, even more difficult. So, An-Nazi'ati gharqa, An-Nashitati nashta. We learn in Surah Qaf, ayah 19, وَجَاءَتْ سَكْرَةُ الْمَوْتِ بِالْحَقِّ, that the intoxication of death will bring the truth, meaning the experience of death is in fact painful. And the Prophet ﷺ, he himself also suffered from pain at the time of his death. It doesn't mean that for the believer it becomes very easy. No, it becomes easier because of the way that the angels deal with him. The Prophet ﷺ said to us that do not wish for death, for the terror of the place whence one looks down is severe, meaning death is painful. This is why do not wish for death. It is a part of man's happiness that his life should be long, and Allah, who is great and glorious, should supply him with repentance. So don't wish for death. Why? Because it is something painful. Now, with regards to the believer, what happens to him? We learn from hadith that Al-Barra ibn Azib, he said that we went out with the Messenger of Allah ﷺ once for the funeral of a man from among the Ansar. And we reached the grave whilst it was still being dug. So we went for the funeral, and we reached the grave, and the grave was still being dug. So basically, the person still had to be buried. The Messenger of Allah sat down, and we also sat down around him. And it was as if we had birds on our heads. Why did he say that? Because they were still. They weren't moving. In his hand was a stick with which he was scratching in the earth. The Prophet ﷺ. He raised his head and he said, "Seek refuge with Allah from the punishment of the grave." And he said this 2 or 3 times. And then he said, "Verily, when the believing slave is about to depart this world and enter the hereafter, there come down to him angels from heaven with white faces, shining faces, as if their faces are the sun. They bring with them one of the shrouds of paradise and some of the perfume of paradise, and they sit with him as far as the eye can see. Then the angel of death comes to him and sits by his head, and he says, 'O pure soul, come out to the forgiveness and pleasure of Allah.' Then his soul comes flowing out like a drop of water flowing from a cup. A drop of water flowing from a cup. How smoothly it comes out. An-Nashitati nashta. Then he takes the soul, and no sooner does he seize it, but they take it and place it in that shroud and perfume. Then out of it comes the most excellent fragrance of musk to be found on the face of the earth. Then they ascend with it, and they do not pass by any group of angels, but the angels ask, 'Who is this pure soul?' And they reply, 'It is so-and-so, the son of so-and-so,' using the best names by which he was known on earth. And then they bring it to the lowest heaven and ask for it to be opened, and it is opened for him. Those who are of high rank in each heaven accompany it until they approach the next heaven, and so it goes until it reaches the 7th heaven. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, 'Record the book of my slave in Illiyun, and take him back to the earth, for I created them from it, and I shall return them to it, and I shall take them out from it again.' Then his soul is returned to his body, where? In the grave. And 2 angels come and make him sit up, and they ask him, 'Who is your Lord?' And he says, 'Allah.' They ask, 'What is your religion?' And he says, 'My religion is Islam.' They ask, 'Who is this man that was sent amongst you?' He says, 'He is the messenger of Allah.' They ask him, 'What knowledge do you have?' And he says, 'I read the book of Allah and I believed in it.' And then a voice will call out from heaven, 'My slave has spoken the truth. Prepare for him a bed from paradise, and give him clothes from paradise, and open for him a door to paradise. And he will feel its breeze and smell its fragrance, and his grave will be widened for him as far as his eye can see.' And then a man with a handsome face, beautiful clothes, and a pleasant fragrance will come to him and say, 'Good news, this is the day that you were promised.' And he will say, 'Who are you? Your face looks as if it brings good news.' He will say, 'I am your good deeds.' And the dead person, then he says, 'O Lord, let the hour come. Bring it quickly, so that I may see my family and my wealth again.' Bring it quickly. The one who loves to meet Allah, Allah also loves to meet him. And the one who does not wish to meet Allah, Allah also hates to meet him. So, An-Naziat gharqa, An-Nashitati nashta. Earlier we learned, Inna anzarnakum adaban qariba. So, the punishment or reward begins from the moment of death. It begins from when the angel appears before you. And this is a reality, a fact that we cannot ignore, that we cannot be heedless about. Because the angels are appointed to take our souls away. Just imagine, you're sitting, doing something, and all of a sudden you see the angel of death before you. All of a sudden you see the angel of death before you, and it's time to leave. This is a fact, a moment that we will witness, a moment that is going to come in our lives, a moment that we're definitely going to experience. And we don't know which angel it is going to be, which kind of angels. Those with ugly appearance or those with beautiful appearance. Those who will address us with good terms or those who will address us with horrible terms. Those who will give good news or those who will give bad news. We don't know. This is why a person must always remain in fear as well as hope. And this is what should keep driving him. This is something that should make a person continue in his good and continue in his tawbah. Because death is something that each person will experience. And the more a person remembers death, the more his actions are rectified. We learn that the prophets of Allah, the righteous of the past, what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say about them? Inna akhlasnahum bikhalisatin dhikradda. We chose them, why? Because of this exclusive quality they had, which was remembering the home of the hereafter, remembering death. The Prophet ﷺ also advised us, remember death. Why? Because what does it do? It destroys pleasures. It is the destroyer of pleasures. Nothing else destroys pleasures the way death does. This is why it's necessary that a person remembers death, and he never becomes heedless of it.